I put a poll out on my channel last night to ask my audience whether you want a monarchy or whether you want a republic. And I deliberately put up the most offensive potential president of the United Republic of Great Britain and Northern Ireland as the option. That is right, Tony Blair. Over 70% of people on my channel do not value the monarchy in its current iteration under Charles III. I'm always of the opinion that a institution is bigger than any individual. If there's a singular individual at the head of an institution, like the Crown, the embodiment being the current monarch, then the institution itself is bigger than the incumbent. And I personally am a soft monarchist. I've always been a soft monarchist. Not a royalist who is loyal to a particular monarch, but a monarchist. And this is the danger, the peril that the royal family and the king is currently in, and it is self inflicted. The defender of the faith, the break with Rome, the first Brexit, these are all things that were established under Henry VIII, and it was for political and spiritual independence from Rome. Now, he did it for personal reasons. He did it because he wanted to get his end away with a new wife, and he didn't want the old wife anymore. So, a very, very, very male thing to do. But the constitutional principles of England and later the United Kingdom were settled, and they were settled long ago. When the palace, either acting on advice from his government or the palace taking the decision and the government okaying it, to say that he wants to preserve all faiths and he wants to preserve safe spaces for all faiths within the United Kingdom. The fundamental issue that many of his peoples have with this is the democratic principle. We never asked for a multi-faith or a multicultural society, and it has been imposed upon us from on high. Many people in Britain do not belong to any particular church. They are atheists or they are agnostic. Me personally, I am a Christian, but I do not follow the Church of England verbatim because, as I mentioned earlier, the institutions can get corrupted. They can be corrupted through ideology and a warped sense of what their core principle is. The Church of England is there to preach the good word, spread the faith, and that's pretty much it. They've got no businesses actually going into politics in any real, meaningful way. Many people think that the bishops should no longer be in the Lords. I think they should be, but they should be careful on how they wield the power that's afforded to them under this settlement. The issue is when the king comes out and says he wants to preserve all faiths, or he wants to preserve the multicultural dystopian hellhole that is Britain, what happens in 10 or 15 years when certain faiths become, or potentially would become, a majority in this country? Would they get representation in the House of Lords as well? Would they, through their elected members in Parliament, the block voting that we're seeing happening over Britain, would they force their will onto the other people in Britain? This is the difference with other religions, that either the king is aware of and doesn't care, or is ignorant. And these are considerations for anybody, especially somebody who occupies the highest office in the land, should be dealing with and reckoning with before it's too late. It is true that the monarch does have his own team of advisors and his own private secretary, much like the Prime Minister has a team of advisors and a private secretary. The government and the king act and put on a united front, and I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. In the modern context, God Save the King should be making sure that the monarch isn't interfering in something that isn't a settled matter, something that is politically contentious that could alienate part of his support. The monarchy is only there because the people allow it. The king has made a fundamental mistake that he is untouchable. He is not untouchable, as previous monarchs have proven, like his namesake. Things can happen and things can escalate beyond the government's control, the establishment's control, and the king's personal wishes. This is the delicate balance that government has with institutions, whether that's the Church of England, the judiciary, or the monarchy, or even the government itself. It is there because we allow it. It is there because we have agreed that democracy is better than the other options. If the king is taking a partisan stance on multiculturalism and diversity is nothing but a strength, this is betraying people like me and people that watch my channel that do not agree. If my king is saying these things, he's doing it without my consent. This is a problem. The late Queen understood this. Her people would never have put out statements like this, politically contentious wording and phrasing that would alienate her support. The issue with the king is that whether he adhered to the late Majesty's example or is following his own path, we know his views. He's been one of the most outspoken heirs apparents in British history. And this again means that even if he didn't say anything, he said everything he needed to say already. These are just my thoughts. Your mileage may vary. Comment below. Do you still support the monarchy in its current form? You can be a monarchist and not like the House of Windsor. You can just want a new royal family, for example. You can be a Republican and not want President Blair. You can be a monarchist and not actually want the style of monarchy that we've currently got. You could want a limited monarchy, which on paper our monarchy is. You could want a purely ceremonial monarchy like the Japanese monarchy, or something in between. There is no right or wrong, all opinions are valid. I want this channel to be an open debate and an open discourse as always. Like and subscribe, do all of that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. You take it easy, and for now, God save the king.